I put them on the desk just to see if like this meeting had better audio than the last one. I don't think the audio in the last one was bad, but definitely wasn't like.
That's what I thought.
So I think that might be a good test.
He told me.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start with a roll call. Mr. Babcock.
Here.
Mr. Meyerholtz. Ms. Susser.
Here.
And Ms. Wachowski.
Here.
And do we have a motion to excuse Mr. Warner and Mr. Easterwood?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, everyone had a chance to review the agenda. Is there any changes, additions, miscellaneous business to call out? All right, if not, minutes from the previous meeting, has everyone had a chance to review those? Are there any questions or changes? Okay, if not, just looking for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Jessica, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we know who speaks up now in the meetings. Craig and Rick. All right. All right, we do have Mark here with us. We've been through this a couple times. He is seeking Board of Trustees nomination. You want to speak to that a little bit, Mark? Thanks.
I'll send this around. This is a draft of a letter you'll be receiving soon on official station. But what I'm here for is to ask for one more term of 3 years to serve on the Board of Trustees. I feel it's important to keep continuity in what we're doing. Presently, we have multiple millions of dollars in projects going between private and public funds. 22 million plus in public funds between Port Authority, district, and ARPA funds being used out there to develop the 582-75 area. We're going to run sewer and water to Dunbridge, which has been under orders for years, but there was no way to afford it. The county agreed to step up with ARPA to take care of that. I don't want to bore you with details, but what I'm getting at is I'd like to stay on for 3 more years and see this to fruition. What I bring personally to the board is critical thinking, like I did when I sat on council here. We ask questions, we make sure we're doing the right thing. And with the council experience, I know how important what we do is to villages. So that's what I'm at, to represent all the villages and serve as a board member at large to keep things going. I appreciate your support. When you, Stephanie, you might have the nomination letter already.
Yeah, it's in one of those folders.
Okay, good.
Do they, because they have a, like an application in there, if you're just rerunning, do you need to fill that out? Okay, for new people, okay.
All right.
Any questions for me?
You're doing a fine job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's,
If you know anybody who's thinking about using the watershed, I encourage them to do so. It's below what our expectations were in volume. Partly I know because Bowling Green has very good water and that's where we get the water for us. I see more and more people there, I'm glad to say. So,
Yeah.
Very pure.
absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for stepping up and filling that role, Mark. And I also love that there's some Western representation there. So I know you're professional no matter what, but
Right,
I'd love to see that. Thank you.
have my moments too.
Yeah. So we'll have another form come in our way to make that official. You're just here to kind of,
I'm here promoting myself.
right, okay, fair. All right. Any more questions for Mark?
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
if you don't mind, I'll take my leave now and then I have other obligations.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Here.
Okay, addressing a little bit of old business. We are already to the third reading of ordinance 2024-10. This is an ordinance combining official duties of the village administrator and cemetery sexton and establishing the salary for the village administrator. And as far as how the ordinance reads, I think it came down to pretty, concise changes here. And it just section 2 says that section 1 just sets the minimum wage. Section 2 just talks about that there will be changes to the village employee handbook that will reflect his new duties, and that cemetery section will be updated as well. Section 3 just kind of clarifies what and what not the village administrator will be responsible for in the cemetery, and sets $100 kind of just, small petty cash, well, not petty cash, but small budget for just operations. And then section 4 sets his salary, which will be $63,000 yearly, paid bi-weekly. And obviously for the position of administrator and sexton. And the breakdown for funding that will be 45% general fund, 45% streets fund, which has been the typical breakdown. This will have the addition of the 10% cemetery fund. And there's a note in there to say that at no time shall the portion of the administrator salary from the cemetery fund exceed 8,000 unless subsequent amendments are made to the wage and salary ordinance as approved by council. And then section 5 lays out the lump sum that will cover the time that he has been acting as cemetery sexton. So that's $307 per pay period from May 6th up until when this takes effect. And that's it. 6 and 7 are just kind of the normal ordinance stuff. So do we have any additional conversation or questions about that?
Cemetery board sign off.
Yes, it's in my note. Yep. It is.
Harold, any questions? No? All right. Yeah, like I said, I think that is laid out very nicely there. So I guess we're looking for a motion and approval.
Motion.
A second. So we have a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, awesome. Speaking of the cemetery, we have resolution 2024-9. This is a resolution determining to proceed with the submission to the electors of the question of levying a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation pursuant to ORC sections 5705.19, 5705.191, 5705.25, and 5705.26. Once again, sorry for that mouthful there. This is a request for renewal for the cemetery levy. And so there's no increase. It is just a request for renewal. And so with the passage of this resolution, they will be on the November ballot. Any further questions? Conversation, comments? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve resolution 2024-9?
Motion.
Motion and a second? Jessica, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Last part of old business here, we had, the copy of the 2024 council rules. And, we had left off with suggestions on social media. And, Stephanie drafted something up and I made a couple changes that, we can talk about. So this is rule 38 at the very end of that document.
What's the date on that? Of your draft?
The date.
It should just be called council rules draft.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, let me see. I got you.
We have 2024 council rules.
Today, 5:53 p.m.
Oh, that's why.
You got it?
Not yet, I will.
Okay. I think where we left off last time was one of the things that was suggested was to add a rule for social media. And I think we left off with it would be left at kind of a suggestion of decorum. And we were going to use kind of the language from the employee policy as kind of a base there. And so that's what Stephanie did. I think a lot of that is not applicable, because it's more about the village's social media account. And we already kind of established that the clerk is the one that posts things to social media. So we don't have council members or the mayor or other elected officials posting to that particular social media or those accounts, I guess. And so I think what was left in there, which is applicable, would be that first part where it says all village of related communication through social media should remain professional in nature, and the official agency social media must not be used for political purposes, to conduct private commercial transaction or to engage in private business activities. And then I drafted something in here that seems like kind of where we were at. So help me out here. I wrote, elected officials are discouraged from interacting with social media discussions that become divisive or negative in nature. In the case that further communication is required, the official is encouraged to communicate in a more formal setting, communicate directly, or refer the matter to an appropriate individual or committee. Does that seem fair? Is that kind of what we're trying to accomplish?
Keeps it as a suggestion.
Right. And then, yeah, the part that's struck out is like I said, is where it says the village clerk is authorized to publish. And then it goes over the changes that we made to the other one about authorizing the village clerk to publish the agenda and a brief summary. We haven't made those changes to the actual social media policy though, right?
No, that part was always just a draft. It was never actually
Okay.
approved,
So
so.
maybe we can just decide we won't do that now, but we might have to go back to that because we did add that part in there about, releasing the agendas and the committee agendas quicker, like laid out there. And then the last sentence was content posted to the social media account is merely informational. Once again, I feel like that's better suited in the social media employee policy. Do we have any further discussion about that? Any suggestions on changing wording?
Not on that.
Okay.
And for the adjustment that was discussed before, as far as elected officials being able to hold two elected.
Yeah, so I think where we left that off, Rob, was if someone else had something to bring, they could bring a draft of what they wanted in it, or
I did look
More information?
I researched the ORC and it is almost verbatim what we have in our policy as far as council members go. But it only addresses council members. I have not at this point been able to find research on mayoral duties that addresses the mayor specifically. I know that's kind of the direction you were going with it. But as far as the ORC, what I did find, it addressed council members. It did say, like ours does, that it is allowable, as long as they're not getting paid. And with that, as far as council rules go and council members, that's what I could find.
Yeah, well, what I found out from the election board is the fact they can't.
For the council,
For any elected official, they cannot hold two elected positions. And that was from the head of the elections board of elections.
which ours does say, where is it? Which one is it? Rule 1.
so if that's a rule with the election board, then does something have to be in our council rules? Like, wouldn't that,
Well, it seems as though the research was done with the Attorney General's office and
right?
that you made mention of the fact that
Yeah, it does not state that. It states the exact opposite.
It says, no member of the legislative authority shall hold any other public office. And if you look up the definition of a public office, it is an elected office. But it is an it's an elected office for
correct. I understand that.
public service, not for like, how do I say? Like yours is for your committee or like extracurriculars.
No, I understand perfectly what it is, but I don't understand why somebody would think that they can hold two positions, elected positions, when the Board of Elections says they cannot.
Which our rules say that as far as the legislative authority goes, we cannot hold any other public office or any other position within the village that is paid. So that is what the rules currently say. They agree with what you're stating. As far as, and I have no problem saying what I've said in private. So I will just say it. As far as the mayor is concerned, I don't know what it says. And I don't think it's clear. People have found multiple forms of research on it. I do believe when the time comes, we'll need to look into it further. But until then, I think we have plenty of time to do that research and come to that. I don't think it applies to council rules, though. That would be something additionally because the mayor is separate of council. So that's just my
A
opinion,
number of times,
the mayor.
and council is,
Some things that pertain to the council are mentioned, but not all of his duties are mentioned in our council rules. I hear what you're saying. If you guys want to go with something, this is just my thoughts on it. So if somebody else has thoughts on it.
I've stated before that the mayor is the executive branch, not the legislative, and I'm fine with our council rules following ORC code. I don't see the need for any extracurricular stuff about it. And I would definitely be interested in reading the correspondence that you've had with the head of the board.
I went over and talked to him directly.
Do you mind inviting him here?
Huh?
Do you mind inviting him here so we can have the conversation with him directly?
I have no problem with it. He was animate about it,
Yeah, because
very animate.
I've been talking with people at the board as well, and it's about legislative ones,
No.
not executive.
I specifically asked about a mayor. And he
Yes.
said, no. he
Yeah,
can't.
and I had to remind the people that I was talking to that a mayor isn't legislative, they're executive. And then it was, oh, well, maybe you have an argument there. So I would like to talk to him. Yeah, it doesn't have to be to a meeting. You can meet me in private if you want.
I think it'd be
Yeah.
nice to have it at the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, this is coming up now because, I'm in a situation where there's a possibility that I could be elected into two separate offices. And Randy, I'll get to you, I promise. And my thought is, there's no guarantee that I get this position.
Well, and that's fine.
And,
You're still mayor if you don't get the position.
right,
But if
I-
you get the
know.
position, I don't want us in the situation of what the possibilities may bring.
Yeah, I guess my problem with that though is that, the criticism I've heard from you and why that's not a good idea is like a time management argument, correct?
Not necessarily just time management, but from the aspect, I believe, from what the election board is stating, is that you can't double dip on the PERS anyway.
Yeah, and like,
That's another question that comes to mind.
yeah, and like I said,
Quite
if,
honestly, as I was stating before.
Yep.
I went for a position on the library board. And the prosecuting attorney's office came back and said, even though it's a non-paid and that it is non-electable, that it is a appointed
right,
position, that I couldn't be on it.
yeah, and
So, I mean, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense as compared to a mayor holding two positions, two elected positions, as to something that's appointed and you're not getting paid at all, that it is purely like a voluntary situation. And I mean, I didn't understand that.
yeah,
So
I mean,
as far as any research that you're doing or any research that you're doing, all I did was call the Board of Elections, went over, talked to him and said, can't do it.
understood. Yeah, and I figure, I will cross that bridge, when I get there. I didn't, want to get, too involved in, any kind of, work, put into it before the fact. I think there's plenty of time, if I do get elected in that, there's, almost 2 months there to figure that out. But as far as the time commitment, I was just gonna, speak, to the fact that, the mayor pays $6,000 a year. It's been held by many people with other full-time jobs.
That's not the issue.
Okay,
The issue is purely political and electable situations
yeah,
from a time standpoint.
okay, yeah, and if there's some official,
That's kind of like double dipping the taxpayer.
if there's some official communication out there or, policy or procedures, then I would love to see that and I would, of course, follow that. But it seems like what you're recommending is above and beyond what is currently out there.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's a case of, like I said, double dipping the taxpayers for money.
We'll see. I definitely wouldn't mind hearing from the person you talked to. I think it's a great idea eventually to bring them in.
I wouldn't mind hearing from the Attorney General telling me why it can happen.
But as far as council rules, are we good with the adjustments that have been made for the document for social media? I motion to approve it.
So we have a motion to approve the rules Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I,
Okay. Couple things, for me. Firstly, I just wanted to recognize Juneteenth. So I wrote a proclamation, whereas Juneteenth, observed annually on June 19th, marks the anniversary of the momentous day in 1865 when Major General Gordon Granger and Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of the Civil War and the freedom of all enslaved individuals 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas Juneteenth stands as a powerful symbol of the triumph of freedom and reminder of the long and arduous journey towards equality and justice for all. Whereas the celebration of Juneteenth not only honors the significant contributions and resilience of African Americans throughout history, but also acknowledges the ongoing struggle for civil rights and the pursuit of a more just and equitable society. Whereas in recognizing Juneteenth, we reaffirm our commitment to eradicating racism, promoting understanding and unity, and fostering a community where every individual is treated with dignity and respect. Whereas the Village of Weston, Ohio proudly joins communities across the nation in commemorating Juneteenth, reflecting on our shared history and celebrating the rich cultural heritage and enduring spirit of the African Americans. Therefore, I, Mayor of Village of Weston, do proclaim June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in Weston, and I encourage all residents to observe this day with the appropriate ceremonies, activities, and reflections that honor the significance of Juneteenth and celebrate the principles of liberty and justice for all. And then I just wanted to speak to the fire that we just had, family on Walnut Street, and just wanted to speak to, I guess, the community support that's kind of already been shown to the Crows. I've talked to Ryan and Kent a few times, just to, have a open channel of communication from, the village government, to to them. And, of course, there's, been already realization that, of course, he has a house, that is now in an unusable state. And I know we had an email coming in kind of asking how that's handled. And Rick had asked about the fire insurance ordinance that we have in place, and Stephanie sent that out. But my understanding is what that covers is the case in which there's insurance revenue collected from a fire, I guess, disaster, or a building that is taken out by fire. The village is able to put some of that in kind of an escrow to ensure that those proceeds take down the abandoned building. And so it seems to only be in the case of, insurance proceeds. I still think they're trying to figure that out. I don't think there's anything official from them whether they will have insurance proceeds or not. The interview on the news seems to indicate no. And so that doesn't really apply, but obviously our other village ordinances do apply. And I would say that that's kind of in Ken's ballpark, and I plan on talking to him further. He's out of town right at the moment, but I would expect us to be as generous and so what I'm looking for, yeah, as we are with everyone else, and of course we'll work with them to, you know, get through their circumstances, and we'll also uphold our ordinances. And so I don't want there to be any fear that, you know, we're not going to uphold our ordinances, but
Well, the biggest question at hand
Mhm.
is that it is a safety issue,
absolutely.
and it was gonna come up at safety meeting anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
But I really don't see, and I might as well make the statement now, I
Sure.
don't see any way out of it except for us to take it down at our expense. And then it would have to be put on the tax lien at that point in time. Then whomever decides that they're gonna pay for the property or whatever after it is cleaned up, then that could possibly happen, but I'm not, I'm not making any
Okay.
ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That,
You cannot let a structure set like that in a neighborhood in the condition that it's in. It's not a good thing.
yeah, I'm just saying, I think we have to allow some time for them to get things in order. You know, all of our other policies have, you know, time baked in, you know, for compliance. That's what we're looking for, is compliance. And that's a great suggestion to them. If it comes down to them not being able to take that structure down themselves, I
It's a case.
appreciate
Comes
that.
a
It's,
matter of public safety. And when it's public safety in a residential neighborhood,
I hear you.
especially close to a park, especially close to where kids
Sure.
are playing and everything else, a disaster could happen that you don't want to even think about.
Yeah, and I want to have that conversation with them, and I trust that Ken is willing to kind of start us out in the right direction. So we'll talk about that further. You're more than welcome to.
I said safety, we'll talk about
Okay.
next Monday.
That's great. I think just to finish up my thought, I talked with Ryan today and just asked him how things were going, and he had just noted that he's overwhelmed by the amount of people reaching out and offering to help in one way or another. So I think that's a good thing. He commented about I don't want to say joy, but you know, the feelings he was getting from seeing the community come together. And it's unfortunate that it has to be, you know, in that kind of scenario, but I'm really proud of the community. So that's all. Stephanie, anything for council?
Nope.
Harold, anything for council?
We got the walking path put in finally, and I met with, Fellow Finch last week, and we'll be having the paperwork sent to us this week for Main Street. So once that gets here, I'll be able to report that to everybody that's involved, and then make sure everything's up to what we want it to be, and then we can wait for it to get put out. I believe he said he was gonna have that out next week. Or by the 3rd, he said he's gonna have it out in the newspaper by the 3rd. Maybe we're gonna put it out for us.
Okay. Awesome. And does he have like a official rendering coming back?
Of what he thinks it's gonna cost?
No, of like, the overview of the project.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna be sending us this week.
Okay, great.
That goes his-
Yeah, and Harold had also talked about just really looking and seeing where the previous asphalt ended, so that we can keep Rick, our streets chairman, happy. We're trying to make sure that we're not creating any small areas where two pavements don't come together. And so we were just looking at where it connects to the other roads, and I think he decided that there was an opportunity there to hit the curves, right?
We do all the
What do you call that?
Intersections?
Yeah, essentially.
There's a special word for it.
Yes, yes. Aprons?
That wasn't a test. I've been trying to figure out what to call it for like 2 weeks. So, okay. I think everyone gets the, all right, awesome. Look forward to seeing that. Anything else for Harold? And Randy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be a liar there. I know you had something specific about,
Yeah, I was wondering about the situation where
Yeah.
in the hypothetical situation that you were elected to two positions
yes,
and were to give up the mayorship.
yes,
Is there a procedure in place to fill that position?
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and that's laid out in council rules and I think in the ORC as well. And basically Jessica would step in until
Interim.
a new mayor could be elected, I believe. Yeah.
Or until her term is up.
Yeah, I think it says something about the amount of time left in the term. In which case it would be 3 years. So I think they would like do a new election if I were to step down in that role. Any questions about code enforcement or zoning that we can take back to Ken?
You really don't have anything about solar panels? That's what his report is.
As report states something about solar panel placement.
He would like us to make something. for
Yeah.
Community development.
We don't have anything in our zoning code about solar paneling.
I don't think that would concern commercial stuff from that standpoint. I think he's just looking residential.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can invite him to our next meeting and get his thoughts. I know there's a couple things that we need to touch base with him for. And so we'll put out an official invite for him to,
Who,
Ken,
Which meeting?
community development.
That's
doesn't he
fine.
come? Oh, I see.
The next one.
Okay.
I think we already have our agenda set for,
Like the wisdom.
No, he comes if we ask.
No, I know, I thought he meant invited to the next council meeting.
oh, gotcha.
Wait, is it supposed to be?
Yep.
Anyway.
All right, awesome. Thank you. We have quite a few committee reports here. We'll start with the ball program special committee that we had on the 4th.
Anything like this, you're gonna go down the list.
What's that?
You're gonna go down the list, or you're gonna go left, right, left, right.
I'll go down. How about that?
He said the ball program special committee.
Oh, I thought you meant Weston. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thought I was next. All right, I got it. Give me 2 seconds.
I'll go if you want me to.
You're first and fourth.
I think.
Oh.
Okay. So this one's pretty, it's just a summary of our meeting. In attendance, we had Rob Meyer Holstein, Babcock, Jessica Souser, Jeremy Schroeder, and Brittany Kukowski as a guest. Updates were given from the Weston Sports Initiative Board meetings that I had attended, as well as the follow-up I had with Stephanie regarding thoughts and research on the business elements of the transition to 501c3 nonprofit. Additionally, we discussed topics to be taken to the next board meeting for the board to think about and kind of respond to, including the board of directors and officer positions that will need to be filled and the duties that go along with that, potential capital improvements to be considered during the spend down process, ownership and lease contract details. It was requested that Rob look to find additional resources to be communicated and utilized, communicated to and utilized by the Sports Initiative Board with information on the process of forming a 501c3. Additionally, ideas were discussed that would make the transition as smooth as possible for the board. Those ideas included the suggestion for the board to begin having the treasurer trained to take over fiscal duties, providing templates of necessary forms for the transition, and to start working the details for a future contractual agreement with the Weston Sports Initiative Board. And all of that got taken to the baseball meeting.
There was nothing in there about getting the treasurer a computer.
That was taken to the meeting.
Yeah, I took that to the meeting. I said,
Didn't hear it, so I just.
no, that was the treasurer taking over fiscal duties and discuss capital improvements. But I suggested that at the meeting to them amongst the other things that we suggested. That's their decision. They did like the idea though. And they like the idea of her moving into that role.
You received the information that I sent you.
I did. Yes, I did. And I have that, told them I have that, told them we're gonna come up with the templates and kind of form it for them so then they can just change, cut and paste what they need to, make it as easy as possible for them, because at their meeting, and I'm sure a lot of this is in Brittany's notes, that's why mine was just a summary. But we talked about, I just lost it. I'll let you do your notes and then.
I also did not mention the computer. I just mentioned that you were there discussing things that were brought, because it was, mine's also a summary.
Yeah, I think they generally like the idea of the computer. I think Luann maybe needs to look at what kind of computer.
That was my thought. We discussed, Janetti wanted to hear, so after our meeting at the concession stand, when I was volunteering, Janetti asked to hear the pros and cons of a 501c3 for the board so that they would know exactly what they're getting into. So at the meeting, I told them I wouldn't sugarcoat it for them and what the process is, that it's like starting a business and there is work to it, but it does have definite pros. But one of the biggest leaps for them or cons is going to be the fiscal, taking on all that Stephanie does, because Stephanie does a lot and a lot of what she does is unseen. So we explained that and then also discussed, because they like the idea of the treasurer stepping into that role and starting to learn that now.
I would think that's a pretty easy process for the mother.
Yes.
That's her role.
Yes, but there's a lot to it. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of things that have to go to her. And she's already started taking on a lot of it, but orders that go to her and then figuring out where they shop and all of those, filling in the gaps. But that is when we mentioned the computer and they are considering it. They didn't vote to approve it at that meeting, but they thought it was a great idea.
We're gonna look into different models and different, like, ones that fit what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll roll into the Sports Initiative Board meeting.
In attendance was Janetti Zamarippa, don't tell her I did that. Luann Hunt, Dennis Sauter, myself, Jeremy Schroeder, Jessica Souza, Rachel Beard, Paul Kukowski, and Dahlia Gonzalez. Rachel Beard was appointed the Community Relations seat on the board by the mayor. She was sworn in. Mr. Kukowski is the person running the adult league, and he was given dates to the board for the end of the summer league and the start of the fall league. And Mrs. Zamarippa asked to relay reminders for field rules and village regulations / ordinances. They were discussing just basically how to move forward with the fall league. They discussed concession stand improvements and they approved orders for a cash register and a hot dog roller. They discussed improvements for field maintenance and they ordered a leaf blower, roll signs, chalk, and marking paint. They had updates on what's happening in Otsego Town Ball, which is the overarching thing that they are a part of. The current discussion is moving toward renaming of the teams. More information will be available on that after Mr. Sauter attends the upcoming meeting. I think that was this week, or is it next?
Oh, the upcoming.
Yeah, it's an OTB meeting. Ms. Souzer discussed the existing plan to move toward 501c3 and answer questions from the board. Property procedure and role questions were clarified. Board had all the questions were heard, and we all try to think of answers and solutions to problems as they came up.
Yeah.
Nothing really actionable for council.
Great. We had a rec board meeting on the 12th.
You want me to read it or are you gonna? I don't,
Have it?
yeah, I do. If you want me to, doesn't matter. I don't know what. Good news to me too.
Oh. It's not in attendance.
Okay, reviewed park rules ordinance. Would like to recommend to the council adding in regulations for no motorized vehicles on park land. I have something to add to that later, but anyway, has nothing to do with the fact that I have a kick scooter. Board tasked Stephanie with putting together a draft to present to council. Talked with Harold about adding parking lines to designate parking areas along the paved drive at Alumni Park. Reviewed upcoming wild program topics and date, June 22nd, insects, July 9th, 5 Senses Yoga, July 20th, Space and Sun. Planned a ribbon cutting for the walking path on Wednesday, June 26th from 6 to 8. There will be activities similar to a field day on a smaller scale, promotion of the adult walking program, and a suggestion box for Alumni Park. Brittany shared there are ball games that night, and the board agreed this would be a great opportunity for attendance, getting people to check out all of Alumni Park and hear about the walking program. We'd like to request the mayor and council members be in attendance. Unanimously approved $400 for ribbon cutting and walking program. Board unanimously voted to name the walking path Keeler's Path. Discussed sharing the history of Weston, specifically Keeler's Prairie, Ralph Keeler, and Thomas Taylor, Taylortown, on a plaque. Once more permanent signage is displayed. Temporarily, there will be a QR code with history information from the website. The discussion led into grant opportunities, and the board talked about storybook trail grant through ODNR, which could be a great opportunity. Have the history plaque as well as signage and a storybook that can be swapped out during the seasons. Defiant Splash Pad does this on their storybook trail. Discussed other project plans to put toward grant opportunities such as the Wood County Park District grant, including shelter house over the old blacktop pad behind the bus garage, painted obstacle course, equipment, obstacle course with things like jumpers, rock walls, net walls, etc. Also discuss the adult playground equipment idea and to try something smaller scale along the walking path to gain interest before putting in equipment. A few years ago, broken playground equipment was removed from Merrill Park and would like to find replacement equipment to put there, such as musical instrument features that a lot of inclusive parks now have. Discussed fixing up the Michael Merrill Park sign and what colors paint that and inside the shelter. We'll plan a park visit, see what else needs to be fixed before putting the budget together. And that's it.
Awesome. Okay, so it sounds like we have a recommendation coming from there to adapt our ordinance to talk about non-motorized vehicles. So I guess a good suggestion would be to take that to our community development committee to look at the wording on how that is right now and if it could be adapted to.
This would take out a wheelchair the way it's
Right.
so.
So so yeah, I'm sure we can further understand the intention there and tweak the words. So if everyone's okay with that, we'll put that on that agenda. And then I heard in there a recommendation to call the path Keeler's Path. I'd entertain a motion for that, I guess.
A motion, call it Keeler's Path.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Awesome. I love the other things that are going on there. We have a cemetery board meeting, reporting from the 6th.
So in attendance, Jody Domer, Diane Hilliard, Robin Kaiser, Don Blandy, Tom and Harold Boggs, Brittany Kuplowski, and Jessica Susser. Brittany complimented the cemetery cleanup event and all the volunteers that came to help out, then suggested putting on an additional event in the fall. We received an update on the mowers. We currently have 2 mowers, and Harold at that time was meeting with 2 more that week that were interested. To date, the mowers have used 340 hours, and this is as of the 6th, leaving 460 hours for the remainder of the year. Jody also mentioned that Palmer is increasing their pricing again from 260 to 290 for burial. And I agreed to talk with Stephanie about options in case we run out of hours for the mowers as far as reappropriations. Jody presented a draft of new rules for the cemetery, many topics under review, and a request was made for a copy of the village ordinance for indigent burials as reference because it was already in their rules, so they wanted to reference back and see what they could do. The ordinance to combine the sexton and administrator was shared with Jody and printed for the board members. All approved of the wording of updates and agreed to continue forward. The board was also informed that the 3rd reading is scheduled for July 1st. The Allen Foundation was discussed due to the board members being absent at the time the situation was discussed in retrospect by the board. Oh, there should be a comma there. Since they were absent, they discussed the situation in retrospect, and questions had arisen in regard to the sequence of events and statements made at that time. The board has requested that the mayor attend the next cemetery board meeting to clarify the details. Some of the concerns include comments made about the Weston Cemetery being difficult to work with, lack of communication and improper process with regard to chain of command. The board is continuing to discuss policies regarding specialty headstones. Those with current requests are being contacted with a request to attend a board meeting and share the details of that request with the board. Additionally, some community members have expressed interest in donating to fix up some of the headstones at the cemetery, which is fantastic. There are currently 3 foundations to be poured, and the plan is to make a short order for cement pending any additional orders prior to the spring order. Lastly, the plans for the fall lantern tour were discussed, and people were chosen to highlight on the tour, which is really exciting. So they're moving forward with that for this fall. And then the July 4th meeting was moved to July 11th due to the holiday. And the August meeting was also moved due to Wood County Fair conflicts to August 8th.
All right. Awesome. And the mayor will make that date available.
Thank you.
We had an administrative process meeting on the 10th. I can go over it if you want. Okay. That works. Thank you. I knew I saw you here for something. Okay, in attendance at the administrative process meeting on the 10th were Craig Warner, Dean Babcock, Jessica Suser, Rob Meyerholtz, Brittany Klikowski, and Howard Lashaway. And I showed up late. It was noted that Stephanie had finished the 2025 estimated budget and reviewed it with the committee. The discussion on pay schedule along with the help me out, DOL.
Department of Labor.
Okay, Department of Labor salary threshold. Ms. Suser expressed concern over calculating fiscal office / clerk hours and wondered, would it be accurate knowing where the threshold is? Hours will begin to be tracked for the summer months, so we can begin discussing this in the fall before appropriations are due. They conducted a grant writer interview with Christy Galarza from GEM Consulting. The committee is recommending to proceed with drafting a contract along with a background check to proceed on working with Paul, to proceed on, I guess, working draft. And then it's noted Paul Scaff will review the proposal submitted. And then the committee reviewed the ADT quote for Village Hall security, proposing safety committee look at both quotes to make a determination. We would have to reappropriate money from the general fund and add to an additional line item for security. And there was a suggestion to use the PEP grant to offset that cost. Safety committee will decide which of the two quotes is best, and it will be presented to council after that. And then a couple actionable items, approve the estimates revenue budget certificate, which we have under new business, and propose to allow Zach Schmidt to pursue a grant opportunity that would meet his graduate school class requirements. And I know it says Zach is under new business, but he'll actually be joining us next meeting. And so that's that. Any questions on that meeting? All right, cool. New business,
Coming meetings.
upcoming meetings. Yep. Community Development, Public Affairs tomorrow at 6, Safety on the 24th at 6, Public Works on the 25th at 6, Administrative Process July 8th at 6, Rec Board on the 10th at 6:30, July 10th at 6:30. Cemetery once again was moved to July 11th at 6 p.m. And of course, our next council meeting is as regularly scheduled on July 1st. Okay, new business, the 2025 revenue budget. We have a certificate of the county, or certificate of the county budget commission. And so this is coming from them to us, correct?
Us to them.
Us to them.
They
Okay.
will edit the property tax lines. I usually just fill that in with as close to what it usually is, the average.
Okay.
But those will probably be higher. or lower than what's listed on the form right now.
Okay,
The form that they send back is what we use to set our appropriations for the next year.
I noticed the audit bill in there, whatever. Are you currently being audited?
Yeah, it's audit year. They are about 80% done, so they should be done soon.
okay. Any questions about the revenue budget? That's something that happens every year and it's, I guess a back and forth to certify that, our revenues are, I guess predictable and accounted for. All right, that brings us on to the grant writer contract slash,
Council approve.
oh, okay, okay. Do we have a motion to approve the budget certificate then?
So moved.
Send off to, we have a first, second, Jessica, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. We have our grant writer contract slash proposal. So once again, the committee interviewed the Kristen Galazzara. And her initial, I guess, contract with us was a 7-month contract.
Oh, it was a 5-month. That changed to 7 months.
Her original was a 7-month that she changed to 5 months, thinking that she had to kind of stay within our fiscal year. And I think we had discussed that that's not necessarily the case. And so we still wanted to see if there was the opportunity for her to do 7 months as well, which, would kind of, bring us into next, fiscal year. And I guess to me, that seemed like it would, play well, with kind of maybe securing some of those grants that she's looking for once appropriations have even been set and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess I'll just open to questions. And has Paul reviewed?
Yep.
He has reviewed it.
Paul's reviewed everything. He had no issue with the contract that was provided, so.
Okay. And we've already communicated with her, the background check is.
Yep, she's working on getting that
Okay.
sent out. Usually those are mailed, so.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we allowed for, that we don't have to take any action this meeting to kind of stick with the timeline. We're just submitting this for, I guess, official review. And maybe next meeting, we could take some action, or if necessary, the meeting after that. But hopefully we can have everything reviewed and a background check in place and whatnot. And so I guess if there's nothing further on that, then we'll just leave it open to suggestions for next meeting.
Did everybody get the information to look over? Looking at it, it looks very impressive.
Yeah. I haven't reviewed it like super in depth yet, but. Okay. And once again, so this is, we had spoke before about a line item that we had to hire a grant writer. It's a $10,000 line item. And so we had put out multiple postings about filling that position. We had a couple people reply. Ultimately, only one person interviewed, but they seemed to be like a fantastic fit. So the committee interviewed them and talked about everything that they could think of. And that is the contract that is under review now. She kind of proposed, like kind of a month by month deliverable, a schedule of deliverables, and it kind of starts out with her kind of investigating and seeking out opportunities on our behalf, bringing those back to us, and then we can kind of talk through those with her. And then, of course, there's obviously then time for her to, you know, fill out those grant applications and work with us as well to, I guess, file. So that's exciting. I think it highlights the ask that we kind of have in all the committees right now is to identify any potential grant projects. Oftentimes it starts, you know, with a project, and then we can kind of identify if there's grants that match up with that. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of the other way around, kind of identifying a grant and coming up with a project. But I think it's important to kind of hit that on both sides. Howard, I saw you had, do you have a question?
Now this, where did you come up with this lady?
We put it out on Indeed, I believe, and she replied over Indeed.
Which from?
She's from Colorado. So hence the background check. Obviously we'll be working with her kind of over Zoom. She did offer to kind of meet us. She's going to be traveling in this area in the next couple months. And so I think the idea was to take her up on that if we approve the contract. So. Any questions about the grant? And it's exciting to see someone fill that role. And then we had also talked to Zach Schmidt. And so he's a local person that is currently taking a BGSU class, a graduate level class, and he's also looking to kind of write a grant on our behalf, free of charge. And so if anyone has any, you know, ideas for that, I know we have suggested to him our seeing if he can put in any legwork on the community building, and he is super excited about that one. But obviously, you know, any opportunities that we can think of to let him loose on, he will be at our next meeting. So if anyone has any ideas in the meantime, I guess let me know and I can communicate that to him. Has everyone had a chance to review the bills? And do we agree to pay the bills? Motion?
So moved.
Second? Jessica, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Little bit of, I just, while we're going through here, I wanted to re-highlight the PATH celebration. Parks and Rec is organizing that. That will be June 26th from 6 to 8. As kind of an official ribbon cutting and just I guess overall, you know, communication on the future of.
Are we doing a ribbon cutting?
Yeah.
What day?
That will be June 26th from 6 to 8. And Parks and Rec has specifically invited all council members and the mayor. I'll be there. Would love to see you all there. And Harold.
June 26th.
Gary, you're allowed to come too, so don't feel like you're left out. Awesome, thank you.
I want to do that, you show up.
Yeah, obviously we want everyone to show up if they can make it. So, and then also just wanted to call out that the Wild program is picking back up They're going to talk about bugs. And that's June 22nd at 10 a.m. at Spider Park.
I did have a question for Harold. Where do we stand, Harold, on the sidewalk handicap corner meeting up with the streets and things?
We haven't made any headway on that yet.
I had somebody ask me about it and I said it's on the radar, but
Definitely on the radar. Yeah,
but I don't, it's not gonna happen this year.
it could.
It can, I put it on my book so that way I can get, looking at them for hours that we want to tackle and
Yeah.
get a hold of 10K and get the up out here to have them check everything out and see what it's gonna cost and.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see you tackle it this year yet. I was kind of waiting to get through grass season, before kind of hounding you about it, but
It doesn't end until November.
well, I mean, just the peak of it, I meant. So, and we're getting there.
Hopefully it
So,
burns it out in the next.
Yeah. No, thank you for that reminder though. I think that's an important project.
One other question, where do we stand on the middle of the street down here across the tracks with that catch basin there?
I'm assuming they got it on their books because they got the paperwork, because I signed everything and sent it over to them. I have not heard back from when they're gonna start it, but I will find out before the next meeting.
Who's doing it?
JPS. So.
And you only had,
Back from them about that, yeah.
you only had one bid from them, or one bid to do it?
All right, looking forward to that date. Anything else? All right, we got some visitors. Howard?
Yeah, I just got a question.
Yes, sir.
What is the situation on the tall weed? So,
Yeah, I saw that come up. We're trying to just figure out like a shape of the natural prairie. And so you see Harold kind of has it like mowed out in a very,
I'm not
specific.
talking about that. I'm talking about on the personal property.
Oh, it's not allowed. Yeah, help me out.
Well, I mean, people are getting notices of tall weeds and stuff, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that's our process.
So, when you get home after the meeting, you ought to walk around your yard, look around your fence in your house.
My yard?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it. Randy?
I wasn't able to attend the meeting last time, 2 weeks ago. I was out of town. And then I tried to look online to see the video presentation.
Mhm.
And it's, I have an older brother who's a sound engineer. And because of his work, I'm very conscious when I hear a really lousy recording. And I don't know if it was because of the fans or because of the new setup, but the video, in case you didn't happen to watch it,
Yeah.
I couldn't get anything out of it. So I'm just wondering if maybe we need some professional advice on how to get a better recording so that we can.
Yeah, maybe. We did tweak the speakers. Last time we had these two kind of vertical, and I did notice that it wasn't a super great sound quality. And I'm just wondering if the shape of the speaker is meant to be more horizontal. So you see, I have them placed out there, and we're going to use that as kind of a control. We definitely want the sound to get better. I agree with you. It was, not the greatest. Especially when we went from one speaker to three, we thought that would be a lot better.
Yeah.
Right. And so, maybe, I guess we'll see how much better it is
I
this.
realize the fans won't always be on,
Right.
and they are keeping.
Yeah, and
It shouldn't pick the fans up because
Yeah.
when he does the gavel, it doesn't pick that up at all.
But I do wonder though, if it's the noise cancellation that's maybe canceling a little too much.
Because it's a static sound.
Right.
Possibility.
Yeah.
To us, when we hear a fan, what we hear is a constant sound. But in actuality, it's a vibration that's
Right.
created. And so the electronics can pick that up differently than what we can pick it
Yeah.
up. So, that might be something that can be experimented with,
Yeah.
in the fence. And so on.
But no, I appreciate that observation. We're definitely still working on that.
My brother is in semi-retirement. And,
Okay.
if you need help with that,
He might tell us we need a new building, but
That's lighting.
I don't know how the acoustics are in here. But I hope it can be better just with this change.
I do
Or-
think, because I noticed when Harold was talking, Ron had put up on the thing that he couldn't hear him. So I do wonder when people are speaking, we need to have them step forward and get by one of the microphones so that
Yeah,
the virtual visitors and the recording can hear them better. Because I'm sure that like us that are like right up on it are heard fine.
right.
So,
And maybe, we could step them more like down the center of the room. So we're kind of, covering the room, but yeah, something to look out for.
not real skilled at that stuff, but like I said, my brother.
Yeah. All right. Well, great.
I'm sure there are other sound engineers as well, but
Yeah.
this might be helpful.
All right, cool. Well, we might be calling you. So, all right, Samantha,
Nope, I don't,
nothing?
it's not outside.
Gary?
Two things,
Yes, sir.
done your budget for next year already?
We've budgeted revenues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's something we'll be,
Down here more needs replaced,
you think John your mower needs replaced?
got my money. He did it last year, but they turned it down. And
Okay.
another thing.
Okay, we'll discuss that with Harold,
I had
brother.
Somebody talked to me last week, after your last meeting,
Yep.
and it said there was somebody in here that made comments that I was using my truck for town use. When I was on downtime, and I got news to the person who made that comment. That I haven't done that in the last 4 or 5 months,
I love it.
because you called and told me to come up and told me not to, and I haven't.
I appreciate that.
If you haven't got the information, or get your head out of here, get it straight.
All right, fair. I don't remember that coming up last meeting. I'm sure it's on some people's minds, but-
Right after me.
Oh, maybe.
The person that was in here was out in the third set.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
So I just want the council to know that I do not use my vehicle.
Shirley? Anything for council? Thanks for coming. All right, Mr. Dallas. Anything for council, sir? Mr. Dallas going once, going twice. All right. Man, don't get used to this. It's like having short meetings,
oh my
but,
gosh, Rick's not here for this.
meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.